So once again, a very good morning to all of you. So as we know that we have been studying about, we started mechanical properties of solids and we have been studying the same thing since two classes. Now today also we'll continue with the same thing, but the first thing, let us try to just have a quick brief revision like what we studied in last class. Let's have a look at it, then we'll go further. So first, what we studied in the last class is what is the importance of mechanical properties of solids. That is the first thing we have studied. Like major application, what we said is, it is like the application of mechanical properties of solids in civil engineering, like in constructions and in weightlifting with the help of cranes and all. So majorly we took it as civil engineering applications. That is the one major important role of mechanical properties of solids in our society, in our general life. And next thing, what is meant by nature of elasticity and plasticity? So what was the meaning of elasticity and plasticity we have studied? Elasticity and plasticity both are properties or nature of a substance, solid substance. What does that mean? When you apply an external force which can change the configuration, which we call it as deforming force. So when you apply deforming force on the solid body, if it is able to regain its original shape, original configuration after removal of deforming force, then we call it as elasticity, that property. Regaining of original shape or configuration, we call it as elasticity. Inability to regain its original configuration even after removal of deforming force, we call it as plasticity. And the substances which shows elasticity, those are called elastic bodies, and those which shows plasticity, those we call it as plastic bodies, right? So that is the nature of a solid substance which we call it as elasticity and plasticity, about which actually we study in this chapter. And what is the reason, next thing, what is the reason behind elastic nature? Then we took a diagram also, like between the solid atoms, means between the atoms of a solid body, there are some interaction forces. And when you try to compress, stretch, then they behave like a spring. Just like when you compress, then restoring force develops just like in spring, and they try to regain its original configuration. So you compress, then the shape changes slightly, then they try to come back their original shape by developing restoring force inside it. So that is the nature, that is the reason behind the elastic nature. And what is stress and strain? What is stress and strain? So when you keep on applying, so when you apply the external force called deforming force on a solid substance, then what happens? A stress develops, which is nothing but force by area, and which causes change in the configuration or change in the dimension, that is called strain. Change in configuration by initial configuration. So the ratio of change in configuration to the initial configuration, we call it as strain. Now also we have studied what is the difference between stress and pressure. So the difference between stress and pressure. So what is the difference? Both are same. Both are force by area. But stress always acts, pressure always acts perpendicular to the surface or normal to the surface. always like this, perpendicular to the surface, whatever may be the surface. Every point, the pressure will act perpendicular to the surface. Usually we consider in case of liquids. But stress means that can be perpendicular, that can be parallel to the surface. So that's why we call them as like stress and pressure separately, even though the definition is same like force by area. And after that, we have just took the introduction like what are the types of strain and simple numerical on stress and strain, like force by area, and based on the strain, like what is the change in configuration, like that. So these are the simple things we have studied and 2-3 simple numericals we have solved. Now today, the very first thing what we are going to study is types of stress. So till now, I have just gave the brief idea, a reminder kind of thing like what we have studied in the last class. What we have studied in the last class. So now, today's first thing, as I said, types of stress. What is the first thing? Types of stress. So types of stress, the very first thing is longitudinal stress. There are majorly 3 types of stress in our syllabus. And the very first one is longitudinal stress. Longitudinal stress means here in the diagram you can see here there is a rod and you are applying force in this direction here. As you are applying force, the force is perpendicular to this area. See, this is the circular area of the rod and you are applying the force perpendicular to its surface. So when there is a surface area, look at my hand. So and the direction is like this, perpendicular force direction. Then the stress developed, we call it as longitudinal stress. But every stress is what? Stress nothing but force by area only. Formula is same. Same formula for all the types of stress. Even though we are telling 3 types of stress, in every case, in each case, the stress is force by area only. But here longitudinal stress means the force which is acting perpendicular to the surface. Just like one simple example, you just try to take one thing that, see here there is a fixed support and one rod is attached or one rope, thick rope is attached. Now you apply force here. You try to hang from that. I mean, you try to pull that. Then the force will act perpendicular to the, then the force will act perpendicular to the circular area of the rope or rod. So that is F. So that F by area, this area we call it as, where usually they will tell wire or rod, thin wire or rod. But you consider wire or rod, what kind of shape it is? Cylindrical shape usually. So it is rare that in the numerical they will give that the rod is like this shape, rectangular cuboid shape. They will not give like this usually. They will not give this square shape. They will give most of the time circular shape only. Rod means like cylindrical shape. So that the area, what it will become? Pi r square. Where r is the radius of this circular part. This is the radius. So that is what the longitudinal stress. But here again 2 cases come. See here I have written the definition also. So what is the definition? So the definition is when the stress is normal to the surface of the object. Normal to the surface of the object means longitudinal stress. But here 2 cases will come, I am telling, that is, the first one is tensile stress. So tensile means what? Another one is compressive stress. What is the difference? Both are longitudinal stress only. But the difference is, let's take a wire hanging from a fixed support and you are pulling it with a force F. Then it is the case it will become like according to Newton's third law. According to Newton's third law, you are pulling it with force F downward. Then equal and opposite force will develop in which direction? Opposite direction. So that for the wire, here one force will pull it up, here one force will pull it down. Then the wire will stretch. Look at my hands. Then the wire is stretching. Then length what happens? Increases. Length what happens? It tries to increase. And the stress developed is perpendicular to surface area. And it is trying to increase the area, length of the object. And that's why it is called tensile stress. If the stress produced in the object is due to shear, increase in its length. What is it? Increase in its length. Then it is called tensile stress. See, you applied some force, so there is a change in the length delta L. You are applying deforming force, so that initial length, final length, there is an increase in the length, and the corresponding stress, what we call it as tensile stress. That is what the first sub part of longitudinal stress. Similarly, when you consider compressive stress, now what you do is, see, again look at my hand. Suppose this is the rod. Now you keep it on the surface, and from the top surface you try to press it. Now you don't try to pull it, you try to push it downwards. So you are trying to press the body. Then what happens? Then the length decreases. So the length is decreasing. That's why it is called compressive. You are trying to compress the body. That's why it is called compressive stress. But here also you are trying to apply the force perpendicular to the surface. Surface is like this. And you are trying to apply force in this manner. Hope everybody is able to look at my hands. Please try to observe my hands, so that the stress, what we define it as, it is again longitudinal stress only. But as there are two types of longitudinal stress, we call them as compressive stress. So that is what the difference between tensile stress and compressive stress. Now, after that, okay, so there is a longitudinal stress which may be tensile stress or compressive stress, but one common thing is, what is changing here? Length. Length may increase, length may decrease. So that here there is a change in length. There is a change in length always, delta L. So there is a change in length. That's why, see here, delta L may be plus or minus, but change in length. And there is an initial length also. So here what configuration has got changed? Length. Length of the object got changed. Because what we said, you apply deforming force. It develops stress, which causes strain. Nothing but what? The change in the configuration of the object. One of the dimension will change. What dimension has changed in this case? Length. So that's why here the corresponding strain is called longitudinal strain. The corresponding strain is called longitudinal strain. See here, longitudinal strain. And that is the ratio of change in length by original length. Change in length by original length. That is the longitudinal strain. So there is a longitudinal stress, means there must be one corresponding longitudinal strain also. Now the next thing. So after longitudinal stress, the next stress what will be there in our syllabus is volume stress. What is this? Volume stress. Now volume stress means the name itself is saying You can also define it as hydraulic stress, also bulk stress in our syllabus. What we can call it as bulk stress or hydraulic stress. Also we can define. Why we define, we'll see first. So here, if you look at the cubical shape, when you try to apply force from all the directions, equally perpendicular to the surface, then what is happening? The volume is decreasing. But here the problem is, suppose you take a ball. You all know smiley ball. So take the smiley ball and press it. Then shape changes. That is volume stress only. You are applying some force per unit area. So that is called volume stress. Very good. But the change in shape is irregular. Once you press it randomly, the shape of the smiley ball is no more spherical. But we need the change should be such that the shape should not change, only configuration changes, dimension changes. Then only we can calculate. That's why we take a specific case. What is that specific case? Is you take a solid ball, spherical ball. You take a solid spherical ball and keep it inside the, see here as in the diagram it is showing like this. You kept it inside the liquid, where liquid will apply pressure. So the pressure is nothing but force by area. So that only here we call it as what? Stress. And that will act at every point on the surface perpendicular as shown. So that from all the directions equal force, so that equal change in volume. So that's why in the diagram it is representing, see here. The inner dotted one is there, right? So that is the final volume. And the outer one is initial volume. So there is a decrease in volume always. So in our syllabus, volume stress means always causes decrease in volume, not increase in volume. Why I am specifying this? Because in the last topic, longitudinal stress means length may increase, length may decrease. But here also volume may increase, volume may decrease. But in our case, what is possible in practicality? Volume always decreases. So that's why here the corresponding strain is volume strain, that is delta V by V, or exactly to write minus delta V by V. That is the change in volume by initial volume. That is what we call it as volume strain. So this way, the second one is all about you apply some force, you apply some deforming force such that develops, that causes change in the volume, that causes change in the volume, and that we call it as volume stress or bulk stress or hydraulic stress. Why we call it as hydraulic stress? Because it is related to liquids or fluids. That's why we call it as hydraulic. Hydraulic is the word related to fluids. That's why we also name it as hydraulic stress. But the corresponding strain, you can simply take it as volume strain. Why we are taking minus here? Minus sign represents decrease in volume. That also important. Just make a note like negative sign. What is negative sign represents? Negative sign represents decrease in volume. That's it. So now the third one, that is tangential or shear stress. What is that? Tangential or shear stress. So first one, longitudinal stress causes change in length. Second one, volume stress causes change in volume. And this one, tangential or shear stress. Shear or tangential. This means you have to apply force parallel to the surface, along the surface. Please look at my hands. So the force should act parallel to the surface. So that what happens is the bottom of the surface is fixed and you are applying force on the top surface and try to push it. Then there is a slight displacement. Now let us take like this. Now this is the bottom. See here, this is the bottom fixed. Now I am applying force parallel. So it is slightly displacing. It is not changing its shape. It is slightly displacing. So that case we call it as tangential or shear stress. See here. Here in the diagram it is clearly showing the top surface when you look at. So this is the top surface. This is the top surface. And on the top surface, we are applying a force which is parallel to the surface. So again here force by area is called stress. But what stress? As it is acting parallel to the surface, we call it as tangential stress. So it is what is happening. Earlier, when you consider, see here what happens is just simple thing. Suppose you consider this is one object. Now the bottom is fixed. Now you apply force here tangentially. Then this surface got shifts. This surface got shifts. So like this. So here also it is showing. So it got shifts by some angle. So that angular displacement we call it as the angle through which it got displaced, that we call it as shear strain. The corresponding strain is called shear strain. Change in the position, change in the configuration, which is equal to shear. This is the displacement. Let's take delta x or x, and this is the side length, that is L. So that tan theta equal to, see here one right angle triangle is there. So like this one right angle triangle you can make, where this is theta, this is side length, this is delta x. So tan theta, you know the trigonometric ratios. What is the tan theta for triangle? Delta x opposite by adjacent L. That's why I said mathematics is very important for physics. So that here one more thing, one more mathematics is important, that here theta value is very small. See here, when the object is fixed at the bottom, when you apply tangential force, it slightly displaces. Very, very small angle. It got displaces by very small angle. As angles is very small, according to trigonometry, tan theta is approximately equal to theta, and that theta or tan theta equal to delta x by L, we call it as shear strain. So there are three kinds of stress we can develop on a particular body in three different situations, and there are three kinds of corresponding shear strain. So that is what here again I am showing with the diagram. So here in the diagram, so also they are clearly mentioning that, see what is the shift. What is the shift? That is the angle. Here they are representing phi. So that is the angle. And here they represented the displacement as x and the side length as L. So that, so the pi or theta, that is equal to x by L. That is called shear strain. Now the definition also, it is defined as the ratio of displacement of the upper surface. Upper surface got displaces by some distance to the distance L between the two faces on the application of deforming force. What does that mean? See here clearly. See, this is the one surface, this is the another surface, and this is the distance between them, and that distance only what we are representing here, L. So x by L or delta x by L. So this is how there are three types of stress we can produce, and these are the three situations we can calculate stress and the corresponding strain, and that is what exactly is there in our syllabus. Now let's take one or two simple questions based on it. First here. A rod has, see here, a rod has radius 100 millimeter. So write the data first. See, first understand the question. 100 millimeter and a length 10 centimeter and a 100 Newton force compresses along its length. Calculate the longitudinal stress developed in the rod. What stress they are specifying here? Longitudinal stress. Longitudinal stress or whatever it is. But the formula is force by area only. And here radius they have given means what is the area will become? Pi r square. Where F value they have given force as 100 Newton and pi means 22 by 7 or approximately 3.14, where radius is they have mentioned as 100 millimeter. 100 millimeter nothing but 100 into 10 power minus 3 meter, or else 100 means I can write it as 10 power 2. Here 10 power minus 3. It is the formula like x power m into x power n equal to x power m plus n. So 2 minus 3, 10 power minus 1. So this way you can find the radius value in terms of meter. Then you substitute in this formula. Force is 100 pi r square. So if you calculate, then this is the answer. But while doing calculation, you must be precise, you must take some approximations, you must calculate very quickly. Then only you can save time in the entrance point of view. So please try to understand the question, collect the data and conversion of units and then substitution in the formula and do the proper calculation. That way you can solve the questions, because 60% of the questions in NEET or entrance point of view, any entrance when you consider, the questions will come based on these formulas and database, where you need to understand the question and immediately you should realize what topic or what chapter it is, and you have to take the corresponding formula, then take the data and do the required conversion, substitute and do the calculation properly. Now, one more question. If the angle of shear is 30 degrees for a cubical body and the change in length is 250 centimeter and the change in length is 250 centimeter, then what must be the volume of this cubical body? What must be the volume of this cubical body? Given angle of shear is 30 degrees. But here one more thing. That's why I didn't specify at that point of time. I said that when you take shear stress or shear strain, where tan theta we take approximately theta, because theta is very small. That is the thing actually happens in practicality. But in this question, if you see, they have given angle as 30 degrees. Then you don't take it as theta, because theta is now not small. When theta is 1 degree, 2 degree, very less value, then tan theta is approximately theta. But when theta is not smaller, then tan theta you take as it is. But the formula remains same. Tan theta equal to what? Delta x by L. Where if the angle of shear is this much and change in length is 250 centimeter, then what must be the volume? See here the thing is, you consider the body like this. Now the side length you consider as L and it got shifted by distance delta x. So this delta x they have given as 250 centimeter. Then tan theta equal to delta x by L means theta given, delta x given, then you can find L. So that L will become what? So take L left side. So delta x by tan theta. And you all have studied what? The trigonometric ratios and all. So tan 30 is how much? 1 by root 3. Substitute. Then you will get L value. And you also know the little geometry where volume of a cube means what? L cube. So they found L value, then they have taken volume equal to L cube. then just try to substitute. But while doing the calculation, see here it is like a descriptive question. But in the NEET entrance, how it will come? It will come with options. So here L value is 4.3. L value is how much? 4.3. Now 4 cube means 64. 5 cube means 125. If the values are very closer, then you don't take approximation. If the options are far away, little far, there is a huge difference is there, then you can take approximation. Then try to calculate that, then try to do the calculation, then it will become easy for you, or quick calculation you can do it. Because calculation really plays a vital role in entrance point of view. Now, so till now we studied what are the three types of stress, what is the formula, and what is the corresponding strain. Three different type of strain. So longitudinal stress, longitudinal strain, volume stress, volume strain, and shear stress and shear strain. So the final conclusion is you apply deforming force, there is a stress, there is a corresponding strain. So force develops stress and stress causes strain. Then came Hooke, one scientist's name. What he said is, he said that there is a relation between stress and strain under elastic limit. So what is the meaning of elastic limit? Elastic limit means, see here, look at my hand. Now I am applying force on my skin like this. So it is stretching. Then after removal of force, then what is happening? It is regaining its original position. Suppose you do one thing, that you take a plier, hold it and try to push it, pull it. So the skin will come out. That means what you are doing? You are applying some deforming force. You are developing a stress which is beyond its elastic limit, so that there is a permanent change. So under the elastic limit means you have to apply some force such that it can regain its original shape. So that is called elastic limit. Under such elastic limit, always what he said is stress is directly proportional to strain. What is the relation he said? Stress is directly proportional to strain. So that is what here we represented. Stress is directly proportional to strain. But wherever proportionality is there, to remove the proportionality, we substitute one constant. So here also the proportionality constant will come. What that is, we represent with capital E, which is called modulus of elasticity. What we call it as? Modulus of elasticity. Modulus of elasticity means a factor on which the stress and strain depends, or which is depends on nature of the substance. So E is called elasticity, elastic coefficient or modulus of elasticity, where if you take the formula, bring the strain this side, then it will become, what is the formula? E equal to stress by strain, where stress means force by area. So force by area means Newton per meter square, but strain is dimensionless. That's why the dimension of E or the unit of E same as stress. So units of E same as stress. Why? Because the strain is having no dimensions or no units. So that is what? Strain. So the SI unit of modulus of elasticity, that's why what they mentioned here. A unit is nothing but equal to stress, Newton per meter square. But I told you already in the last class, dimensional formula you will study, where kg we represent with m, Meter we represent with L and second we represent with T. So that is what ml minus 1 t power minus 2. But after studying units and dimensions, you will understand clearly. Now just remember the dimensional representation. In every chapter, whatever new quantity comes, for everything you need to know the unit and its dimensional representation. So that we will study, that you will study later. So here if you see the Hooke's law, the Hooke's law says when you apply force, then there is a extension in the spring just like this. So that force is proportional to extension. Same way here also. The stress is proportional to strain. That is what Hooke's law. So force or stress always directly proportional to what? The strain or change in configuration. That is what Hooke's law. So here, if you take the graph between stress and strain, if you take a graph between stress and strain, where stress you take it on y-axis, strain you take it on x-axis, that means y proportional to x form. If you have y proportional to x, that will become y equal to mx form, where m is slope of the graph. What is the slope of the graph? If the graph is making some angle theta with the x-axis, if the graph is making angle theta with the x-axis, then tan theta is called slope of the graph. What it is? Slope of the graph. So, slope of the graph. So here, or for any graph, slope of the graph means how to find it. How to find the slope of the graph. Now, for any graph, slope means tan theta is one formula where theta is the angle made by the graph with x-axis. Another formula is, remember very important one, slope means delta y by delta x, or you can take it like slope of a graph is directly proportional to y quantity by x quantity in physics. So slope of any graph in physics or anywhere is equal to y quantity by x quantity. So that when there is a graph between stress and strain, it is a straight line passing through origin because it is in the y equal to mx form, and the slope of the stress strain graph means it is proportional to stress by strain. Nothing but it is proportional to modulus of elasticity. Please try to understand. If they are asking what is the graph between stress and strain, it is a straight line passing through origin. If they give stress versus strain graph, then the slope will become y quantity by x quantity or tan theta, where theta is angle made by the graph with x-axis. So that the conclusion is slope of stress versus strain graph is equal to modulus of elasticity, and that always remains constant. Why? Because it is a straight line. So straight line graph means slope is constant everywhere. Same slope at every point. See here, you take this graph, suppose in the figure showing, you take this point, angle is theta, this point, angle is theta. So at every point, the slope remains same for a straight line. So the final conclusion is slope of stress versus strain graph is proportional to stress by strain, that is proportional to modulus of elasticity. So more slope means more elasticity. Sometimes they may give the graph between strain versus strain just to confuse. Suppose they have given strain on y-axis and stress on x-axis. Then it will become strain by stress. That means that will become proportional to 1 by E. That difference also you should be able to find it. Now, here, let's see. There are four different materials: steel, plastic, rubber, and some biological tissues. If you compare whose slope is more, the steel slope is more. The steel slope is more compared to plastic, compared to rubber. That means slope is more means what? More stress it can bear. That's why it is more elastic body. When you compare two substances, who has more slope, that is more elastic. That means that can bear more stress. It cannot break that easily. That is what from the graph you can understand. So here also graph is between stress versus strain. You can represent stress with a symbol sigma and strain with a symbol epsilon. This is epsilon. This is sigma. The symbol for stress and strain. So here I have given a general comparison between few materials. You might be thinking like rubber is more elastic. No, easily it can stretchable. But that doesn't mean that it is more elastic. It cannot bear maximum force. If you apply some little force only, then only it will break. But steel means you can stretch it to longer. That's why it is called, it can bear more stress for a small change in strain. That's why it is called more elastic. And when you consider modulus of elasticity depends on type of material. What type of material? Like just before I said, steel is one type of material, iron is another type of material, brass is another type of material, rubber is another type of material. It does not depend upon the value of stress and strain. As stress increases, strain increases, but ratio of stress by strain, that is nothing but modulus of elasticity of a material, that remains constant. That is what the modulus of elasticity, that is what the Hooke's law says. Now, depending upon the nature of force applied on the body, modulus of elasticity is classified in the following three types, which we will study in detail in the coming class. That is, there are three types of modulus of elasticity: Young's modulus when length changes, bulk modulus when volume changes, rigidity modulus when position changes. As we have seen, three types of stress, three types of strain. First one, longitudinal stress. So longitudinal stress by longitudinal strain, Young's modulus. Volume stress by volume strain, bulk modulus. And the shear stress by shear strain, that is called rigidity modulus. So these three things we will study in detail in the coming class. Now, who is more elastic, rubber or steel? See here, the greater the resistance to change, the greater is the elasticity of the material, and the fast it comes back to its original shape or configuration after the deforming force is removed. See here, the thing is, you take a rubber, eraser, whatever you use daily, you try to bend it. It will bend easily, but it will come back slowly. So such kind of material is called less elastic. Easy stretchable doesn't mean that more elastic. But when you consider steel, it is very hard to stretch it and it will come back to its original position quickly. That's why it is more elastic. It has greater resistance to change. Greater resistance to change. It should oppose the change and greater elasticity, then it is called. That's why who is more elastic? Steel is more elastic than rubber. So that's why here steel is more elastic than rubber, because steel comes back to its original shape faster than rubber when the deforming forces are removed. Steel can resist greater force and it can come back quickly. That's why it is called more elastic under the limit, under the elastic limit. We are talking only about under the elastic limit. Now, so if you look at overall what we have studied, just let's have a look at what we have studied till now. First one, types of stress. Longitudinal stress, where force acts perpendicular to the surface area, which is again two types. Tensile stress when length increases, compressive stress when length decreases, and longitudinal strain corresponding strain, that is delta L by L. And the second one is volume stress, where volume changes, but in here in our syllabus volume decreases. So that is also called hydraulic stress or bulk stress. And the corresponding strain is bulk strain or volume strain. And here negative sign represents there is a decrease in volume of the body. And third one, tangential or shear stress, where force is applied parallel to the surface so that there is a shift in the position, and that shift in the position, that angle is called shear strain, and the corresponding strain, that is shear strain. And in this case we will consider the angle is very small, that's why tan theta approximately equal to theta. And we have seen two simple questions based on stress and strain. And the next thing what we studied is Hooke's law, where Hooke's law says that the stress is directly proportional to strain. That is, when you increase the deforming force, stress increases and strain also changes, but the ratio stress by strain remains constant, and that ratio is called modulus of elasticity, whose unit is same as stress, Newton per meter square. That is what? Stress strain. And if you draw the graph between stress and strain under elastic limit, stress is proportional to strain. So you will get a graph like straight line passing through origin. And slope of the graph, if you consider, that is tan theta, where theta is the angle made by the graph with x-axis, or else the slope is equal to stress by strain if it is stress versus strain graph, or strain by strain if strain is on y-axis and stress is on x-axis. And comparatively, more slope means more elasticity, more elastic body. And when you compare the different materials, steel is more elastic, and that modulus of elasticity mainly depends on the nature of the material. Also other factors will be there. Those other factors we will study in the coming class. And what are all the types of modulus of elasticity is there, that also we study in next class. And here we concluded finally, the steel is more elastic than rubber because it is more resistive and it can come back to its original shape quickly. So finally the conclusion, what we are going to study in next class. So the stress strain curve for any solid body and types of materials, and types of modulus of elasticity, as I said, Young's modulus, bulk modulus and rigidity modulus, and the effect of different factors on them, and few numericals based on those things. So this is what we will study in the coming class. If you wish, you can prepare and come back so that you can understand very easily, right? So this is what today's class. Will meet in the next class. Thank you.